Okay, so let's go and create this Geneva cam. The first thing we want to do is open up the template that we previously saved. So we can go to File, New, and then the Open Template menu is here. So this is our start from scratch. Again, this is open a drawing. This is Open Template. And there's something I actually want to correct. Actually, you'll see there's two things I want to correct. The first is, generally you probably shouldn't save a template in Paperspace. And the reason for that is you don't accidentally want to open up a template and then start drawing into this Paperspace. You always want to draw in model space. So let's just go back to model space. So we can click on model space and we see our blank drawing, and we should resave the template. However, before we do that, let's correct one other thing, which you may or may not have already run across. If your drawing was saved the way mine was, your construction layer was frozen off. And when you turn on your construction layer, you see you'll have all your construction lines left over from homework number 7. Well, this isn't very useful, is it? So how do we delete all these? Well, what we can do is we can type Control A. Control A is actually a quick way to select everything. Control A means select all. Once you type Control A, everything gets selected. And after you do that, just hit delete. So that will delete all those construction layers. If you had your construction layers all on already, you probably already deleted them, and you were saying to yourself, well, why didn't he delete them before? Now at least you know about Control A, because you will actually see we will use Control A later on in order to select a complete drawing. Anyway, once we've done that, let's just resave our template. So let's do File, Save As, and we see we have our template. Now, we've actually opened this up as drawing 7. And we should come back here and go to Template, and then overwrite our previous template, ACAD-A-H-title, and save. It already exists. Do we want to overwrite it? Answer is yes. We get the same template option box. We don't need to change anything. We just click OK. So now if we just wanted to go and open up our template again, do a File, New, open up our template. You can see now we open it up in the same blank model space. I'm going to just close out the template from previous, and we're going to work in this model space. Now, in creating this Geneva cam, one thing you're going to see is it actually can get created fairly quickly. And you may be a bit surprised at how quick it does get created. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in our construction layer, and we're going to start by creating some lines. So we're going to start with a construction line, and we're going to go to location 5, 4.5. We're going to create a horizontal line, a vertical line, and then we're also going to create a line at 2 less than 30. And that will create a 30-degree line. The at 2 could actually be at anything. We could say at 1, at 0.5, at 15, whatever. The fact that we type at and a number, when we type the less than 30, tells us that we're going to draw a line at an angle of 30. Because it's a construction line, it will then automatically go on through the whole length of our page. So now that we have these lines, let's make some circles. So if the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do circles with radius, and we're still in construction line here. So we're going to do a circle with a radius. So we click on the center and do a radius of 0.75. And then we're going to do another circle with a radius of 1.25. And another circle with a radius of 2. And another circle with a radius of 4. Another circle with a radius of 4.5. And that's pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this line here and we're going to do an offset by 0.25. I'm going to click on offset. Come down here, type 0.25, enter. Click on this line, and then offset down. That's it for the construction layer. Now we're going to go to our object layer. Turn on our object layer. And a couple of these circles, we're going to actually switch to our object layer. So we're going to take this circle, go to quick properties. Remember, you never want to change the color. We always want to change the layer. Quick properties. Layer. Let's put this one on the object layer. And let's take these two on the inside. Actually, I guess we could have done them all together. Let's take these two and do those two together. Put those two on the object layer. Okay, so that's done. Let's take another circle with a radius of 0.25. Before we do that, let's blow this up a little bit. We want to take a circle right here. Excuse me, right here. Put a circle right here with a radius of 0.25. So it's on the line that goes through the center. Click here. And then we want a radius of 0.25. And yes, it does intersect the line that we have there. And then at the intersection right here, with this outer circle and this horizontal line, we want to put in a circle with a radius of 1.5. So we click there, we click here, we put a circle of a radius of 1.5. And you're probably wondering what the heck we're doing here and how we're going to turn this into this Geneva cam. Well, what we're doing is we're going to utilize two properties of AutoCAD. One is the mirror function, and the other is the array function. And the final step that we need before we start doing lots of trims is to simply add a line which will go from the intersection of this circle out to the intersection of that circle. And then we hit escape. So the next thing we want to do is we want to delete everything except the area that goes from this intersection here, this little curve up to here, over to this circle, and then we follow this circle down to the intersection with this horizontal line. So take a look as I start deleting, and you should get a good idea of what we want to delete. And I'm going to do this slowly so you can see what happens. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the very outer portion of this circle. Or I'm going to delete all of the portion of this large outer circle that we don't need. We only need this little section right here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to trim, and we're going to select this, and we are going to select, well, we can select this line here. I'm going to hit enter, and then we're going to delete this half, we're going to delete that half, and we're going to delete this half. And that portion is done. Let me center that back up. Okay, so now we're going to delete all of this circle except the portion that goes from this horizontal line up to here. So we're going to choose trim, and we're going to select this, and we're going to select that. We hit enter to start the trim process. We're going to delete this and delete that. And let's see, let's center ourselves. And then finally, we're going to delete essentially 3/4 of this circle, everything but the portion that goes from here to there. So we'll select, we can select these two lines, and then we're going to delete this, and we're going to delete that. And what we're left with is this portion here. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing, take a good look in the book, because it also shows this process. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece here and we're going to mirror it. So we're going to create a mirror image of this on the other side of this horizontal line. And the way we do that is we choose mirror up here, and then we want to select the objects. So we make a box that includes those objects, And you can see here it found 4 objects, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. We hit enter, and then we want to select the mirror line. So to select the mirror line, we can select the center portion, center point, and then we can select this point. And you can see it already starts to do it, and it immediately completes it. So now it wants to know, do we want to erase the source? Do we want to erase this half? Or do we want to leave it? And of course, we don't want to erase it, so we type no. And the mirror portion is done. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to take this portion that we created and we want to make an array around this circle. And this is this array function. So we come up here and we choose polar array. We don't want a rectangular array. We don't want a path array. We want to use the polar array. So we choose polar array. And we basically do essentially the same thing we did with the mirror. We come over here. We choose what we want to make the polar array of, which is that portion. You can see it now found 8 objects. It was 4. When we mirrored, we made another 4 for a total of 8. We hit enter. So now it wants to know the axis of rotation. So the axis of rotation is the center. Once we hit the center, it basically just essentially just about completed the part for us. And you can see up here we have some control of what happens. So you can see it has 6 items, each spaced at 60 degrees. We could do unusual things if we wanted to. So for instance, we could only have an array of 4 items at 90 degrees, and then they're not connected. We could draw 4 lines to connect them together. Of course, this is not the part that we're trying to draw, but it's kind of a unique piece. It looks kind of cool. Not what we want. So of course we need to have a 6 up here because the part actually has 6 legs. And there's other things we can do. Once we're done, we can close the array. Once we close the array, we're finished. The final thing we need to do here, if you look at the original drawing, you see there's a keyway. And the keyway is located right here, and I'm going to blow this up. And it is 0.36 inches wide by 0.2 inches high. So how do we draw this? There's a couple of different ways to do it. Here's one that I typically like to use. So I choose a line, and I start in the middle. And we know that we're going 0.2 inches up. And let's see. So right now, I'm not actually drawing it. Why am I not drawing it? I'm not drawing it because I'm snapping trying to snap to polar angles. I tried it again. Now you can see I'm actually drawing it. So I know I'm coming up by 0.2 inches. So I can simply come over here, type 0.2, and I draw a line. Now that line we're going to delete when we're done. But I just use that as a reference. And we're going to be 0.36 inches wide. So 0.18 inches on this side, 0.18 inches on that side. So again, I'm still at a point where I'm going to be drawing a line. I'm set up to draw a line. I haven't hit the mouse button yet. So I'm going to reference from this point. Once I get my tracking line, I'm going to type 0.18. And that's going to start a line 0.18 inches over. And then I'm going to move over 0.36 inches. And then I'm going to come down to the intersection with my circle and hit escape. I'm then going to come over here, complete the line, or complete the keyway on this side. Come to the middle, delete that midpoint, and then I'm going to do my trim, selecting these two edges, hit enter, and delete the middle portion. So now I've actually finished that part, or I finished this portion of the drawing. Now, I'm going to leave it to you to complete the right-hand portion of the drawing as shown on page 715. So that's going to belong over here. What I suggest is you make sure you give yourself a few inches of space so that there's no overlapping space between this drawing and that drawing. Make sure there's at least 2 inches between the part where this drawing ends and the other drawing starts. So you should go ahead and complete this drawing and then go ahead and dimension it. And again, leave enough space so that the dimensions are not overlapping at all. I'll restart a new video and we'll go ahead and look at how you create viewports in order to look at the drawing.